there on the internet. How's everybody doing this evening? So, thumbnail and the background pic right there. You can see that is the lighting spectrum. That is the bell curve of the lighting spectrum. Now that bell curve right there, as you can see, kitty, let daddy have a spot, baby. Come here, hop down. The bell curve, as you can see, let me bring my camera up so I can come on now. So that bell curve, yes, I have Hitler hair today. My hair is not quite long enough to pull back in a ponytail yet, and it's still kind of weird. So Hitler hair it is. Can't help it. At least it looks halfway decent. When I get out of the shower for a while, I can bust the Fabio hair. But once it dries totally, my hair is so soft and it just does not like to stay without any kind of hair product, which I hate hair products. Oh, come on, you fucking piece of shit. Stan, give me a goddamn break here. Alright, there we go. Leave that be so it doesn't fucking fall. Alright, that's better. So, you see, and that's why I keep doing that. I keep on pulling my hair back like that, but it won't stay. And then what happens is I end up like a forward Trump cut or something. Okay, now, what I want to talk about is I kept hearing people online. First of all, we need to get some dabs out and get going here. But I kept hearing people online talking about, particularly on Facebook. Sorry about the angle. Particularly on Facebook, talking about PPFD, PAR. But whenever I would be like, hey, yo, can you explain, like, what the hell is PPFD? Why? The most I would ever really get would be somebody telling me that it's the reading for the light, and your light should be between this and this PPFD and this PAR. Like, nobody would ever actually tell me what it meant. So, well, I'm probably not going to be able to remember that. Photosynthetic photon flux, right? PPF photon, PP, photosynthetic photon flux. I don't remember what the D stands for, but photosynthetic photon flux is what PPFD is. Can't remember what the D is. And what that means essentially is how much of the light is actually arriving at the surface of the plant, and what and within which range is that light in reference to, is it within the PAR of maximum photosynthetic activity for the plant. And that sounds like a lot. It is. And I hope I enunciated that correctly, spoke right. Anyway, but the point is here, lumens. Everybody's familiar with lumens, right? That's how you measure a light bulb. And the reason being, lumens or lux, interchangeable, I think, as I kept seeing them with the backslash. Lumens, lux, is what the human eye can perceive, the light spectrum which the human eye can perceive, which is mostly white light. Obviously, we perceive the sun, the yellow, and green plants, but we do not perceive all that well red and blue light. And I found a really cool experiment to like exemplify this, and I just kind of stumbled into it when I was putting my plants to sleep the other night. If you go into a completely dark space, and like when I'm putting my plants to sleep, and I turn the green lights on, it takes me a minute in the dark with putting the green lights in place and setting everything back into place, and then I walk out into the white light. All I see is red. like everything has a red hue. The white balls are red, like everything just has a reddish hue for like 30 or 40 seconds after I walk out. I thought that was neat. And I know it has to have something to do with, like, you know, I mean, our perception of the light spectrum and the fact that we don't perceive red as much. Somehow exposing yourself to green light allows you, it did me anyway, it allowed me somehow to perceive the red light that was in the regular spectrum out in my living room. But lumens measures the bell curve. So if you look at this, excuse me for a second, look at the thumbnail or this picture right here that should have just popped up. The bell curve, if you know what a bell curve is, it's just any phenomena, if enough data is taken on said phenomena, will equate to a bell curve. You have outliers, things that don't happen a whole lot, and then you have the center, right? And I'm not going to get into the statistical, all the fucking statistics. I took statistics. I know all about the bell curve, and can't remember all of the terms, but the two lines that go down the center, and then the dotted lines all the way out. Like, I remember all that shit. I would just have to refresh my memory to actually speak on the significance of the statistics of it. But I can still speak on the parabola and the fact that if you see outside that parabola, that big square, so the square outside of the bell curve, that's lumens. That's what we're able to perceive. So you can see we're able to perceive a very, very small amount of blue light, hardly any, a fairly large amount of green light, and then on the red spectrum, a little bit more red than we're able to perceive blue. Which, that's also kind of interesting, because why, when exposing myself to the green light, right? So when I expose myself to the green light in the dark, which is on the left side closest to the blue outlier, why then was I able to perceive in the normal spectrum, when I went back into white light, a reddish hue on the other side of the lumen bell curve? Just something I thought was kind of cool. So PPFD is measuring how much light is actually getting down to the plant. Selected layout is missing, required A. Auto layout is in use instead. What? I'm not using a layout. Oh, that's from this mess. Okay. Solo. Okay, sorry about that. PPFD measuring the light reaching the plant. I'm trying to remember everything I wanted to say. So I've spoken on this before. Red light, good for, I've seen somewhere that red light was good either for end of treatment or end of cycle to increase THC yield during vegetation. So some red light during vegetation apparently is beneficial to increase THC production, THC yield in the blooming stage. Don't know why, don't know if that's an incorrect statement, but I do remember seeing that. However, what red also does is it mimics shade. So if you use red light during the vegetative stage, what you're going to get is the plant reaching, because it's essentially, you're telling it that it's being shaded by a larger tree or something. So it's attempting to reach around the shade in whatever way it can to reach towards the daylight, the white light. So you can get stretching. And also, if it is a photo, red light is more common later in the year. So red light can push early flowering, because you're telling the plant a photo period. Remember, photo period is in reference to the light, the photons, the light, because light is just essentially the amount of photons hitting something, right? So the photo period plant, the one you switch to 12-12 in order to make it bud, it can be heavily affected by the red light and start blooming too early, as well as stretch. Now, an autoflower, you don't have to worry about the early bloom, but you still have to consider the stretching. So Yeah. And then blue light, good during harvesting, or not harvesting, during flower and bloom. So from the time you move past your vegetation, when you start seeing your pistils and you hit those spades, that's, there's a word for it. It's the in-between time. It's not senescence. That's whenever your leaf starts failing at the end. When your fan leaves start turning like a shitty color, that's senescence. But there's another word. There's germination, vegetation. It's escaping me. There's a word that refers to the in-between stage from vegetation to flower. And you can start your blue light at that stage, like kind of cycle out the red light and cycle in the blue light, or vice versa, cycle out the blue, cycle in the red. Green light is what, obviously, I didn't know this. I was kind of silly about it, because if you think about it, what color is a plant? Most plants are green. Well, they're green because that's the photons that are hitting our eyes. We're receiving most of the green because the plant is reflecting the green light. It's absorbing a majority of the blue, the red, the rest of the spectrum, the yellow and all the other colors, green. But the green light is being reflected the most. That's why we perceive the plants as green. We're seeing the green photons bounce back to us. However, at nighttime, green light can mimic the moonlight. So I always wondered that. That was one thing I wondered. Like an indoor plant, if you're putting it in teetotal darkness, and they say that photos shouldn't be exposed to any amount of light whatsoever. Well, there's the moon, so, and that's sunlight refracting off of the moon. So it makes me scratch my head when people say that a photo cannot be exposed to any amount of light whatsoever, because of that. Also, green light is it penetrates the deepest. It doesn't get absorbed until very, very deep levels of penetration through the cells in the leaf, which is why it gets bounced off the plant. Because the cells that absorb the green photons are deeper in the plant tissue. You'll have to forgive me. I'm working with my ghetto lighter. Gotta get my terp slurper up to heat here. Every time I say that, and then I do it like this, it works. And I don't have to hold the lighter down to it. My girlfriend was like, if you've got butane, all right. I don't have butane. Fill my lighters up. Luckily, she grabbed some butane while she was out. But we're up to temp, so cheers. Some papaya. Papaya cake. I really like this stuff, even though it freaked out on me the other day. Very sweet. Very sweet. I almost thought it tasted like chocolate a couple different times, but I'm wondering if that's placebo effect. It's a really dark brown butter. This $12.99 slurper is by far the best functioning slurper that I have on the rack right now. I've got several of them. Don't got a great big dab stand, but my aunt's husband, my uncle, he made that for me for Christmas 2 years ago. Nice, perfect dab stand. I'd like him to make me a nice big one. Like, you know what I mean? Like a nice dab setup. Like, where I can put my bangers on the top, and like some tools, have a spot for a puck or two, and a little spot for your mat. I'd love to have something like that. It'd be badass. And he makes all kinds of stuff. He'll go out and cut a fucking stump and turn it into like a truck for his grandson, my cousin, for Christmas, like with little wheels and everything, like a working dump truck, all kinds of shit, out of wood. Oh, you piece of crap fucking later. I knew I should have grabbed the butane from her. See, this is the fucking, you can't see. Right, come on, work with me. Keep it up. Yeah. Was that what I wanted? I shouldn't speak like that while I have my hair combed over to the side like this. People are gonna come on here and be like, yeah, right wing. No, I'm not Hitler. I just have a fucked up haircut right now.